Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And with this one, I am bringing my top 7 specs for patch 9.2. This is a question that I get asked pretty much almost every day in my stream, twitch.tv/Supatease, streaming there every day. What do I think is going to be the best or the most fun in patch 9.2? So I have scoured the deepest recesses of the internet to compile a list here today for you to utilize in the aims of hopefully allowing you to make the best choice to enhance your experience with World of Warcraft, and that is the aim of the channel. I do update live patch notes here whenever they come out, basically in real time. So if you want to make sure that you're staying up to date in the most recent version of the game, then make sure you hit the subscribe button as well. And I have taken trends from the past for specializations that have allowed them to kind of step up into these top dog positions in terms of the game as a whole. And now I'm going to be looking at those trends and applying them to the changes that are incoming for patch 9.2. And on this list, there may be some surprises, some things that were unexpected, because there are a whole lot of things changing in patch 9.2. But let's get started. Moving into the number 7 position, so last place on this list, is going to be the Enhancement Shaman. And you can see there's a lot of changes already right there. And the main takeaway for the Enhancement Shaman is that your overall damage, just sustained damage, is going to be increasing by quite a large margin, which I think Enhancement Shamans are going to be pretty happy to see, because they have been so locked into this kind of bursty cooldown Doomwind's one-shotting build for some time, that now you're going to be having access to more sustained damage and pressure that will potentially allow you to compete with things like Beast Mastery Hunter that received changes like this throughout all of the previous patches of Shadowlands to put it in that top dog position, which is what I was talking about with the trends and why I wanted to take it into account. You're going to see potentially the Fire Nova builds coming back with Lava Lash spreading your Flame Shock. You're going to see all of your conduits on the top end getting buffed by a significant amount. You're going to be rolling the Feral Spirits Lottery here, potentially providing you a ton of Stormbringer procs to allow you to mash the Storm Strike button for tons of damage. So Enhanced Shaman is actually a very big winner. The only reason I think that it comes in currently at number 7 right now is that it is still quite unpredictable as to where's the Covenant going to be. Are we going to see a big shift to Lava Lash builds, a big shift over into Necrolord? And because there's just so much going on with the patch, I couldn't reliably slot it much higher on the list, but because it was getting that same trend and attention that other specs have gotten, it's definitely one to keep an eye on. And if you've been thinking about checking out one, then this patch could be the patch to do it. Now moving into the number 6 position, we're going to be looking at the Restoration Druid. The Restoration Druid is going to be looking forward to getting set bonuses that are going to provide it Tree of Life for 9 seconds after casting 3 Swiftmends. But more importantly, actually, which may not seem that big, is that your other set bonus is going to allow Rejuvenation to have a chance to apply an extra heal over time effect, which is going to provide you a great boost to your mastery in terms of your healing output and allow you purge protection in PvP. So Resto Druid is going to be benefiting from the double legendaries by a dramatic amount, as well as the Enhancement Shaman. You'll be able to run Doomwinds plus another one for sustained damage. Should have mentioned that with the double legendaries moving into 9.2. Resto Druid is going to be the same, and I think it's going to be Kyrian Resto Druid that could potentially take in the lead here over the Necro Lord by being able to wear the Kyrian legendary. You're going to be able to empower an ally, granting them a significant boost of secondary stats, as well as still being able to run your legendary to extend your Cenarian Ward, which was the main drawback of the Kyrian Resto Druid in the current patch, and one of its weaknesses was being purged. Now you'll have a little bit of extra purge protection. You'll be able to extend your HOTS and empower your allies. And Resto Druid is likely to have a huge amount of synergy with a lot of specializations because of this Kyrian build moving forward. So the Resto Druid is looking to become a very big force to be reckoned with in patch 9.2, which is why I'm putting it on the number 6 position. Coming in at number 5, we're going to be looking at the Frost Death Knight. Whoa, where did that come from? Was anyone really expecting to see Frost Death Knight? We didn't really see any changes specifically aimed at Frost Death Knight, but after I scoured all the recesses of the internet, I had managed to notice that they talked about Abomination Limb a lot, and that's what these 3 changes are right here. Abomination Limb, 20% more damage. Abomination Limb damage, 15% more damage. Abomination Limb damage, 10% more damage. And you're going to be able to wear 2 legendaries. So you're going to be able to get this Abomination Limb damage legendary as well as the Frostworm AoE stun. So your Abomination Limb is going to be really, really, really scary. I am actually a bit intimidated by the amount of damage overall. There were other changes to Unholy, but I think that these specifically to Frost and the way that it works with burst damage and how it's going to combo with other specializations to do a lot of damage could mean that Frost Death Knight is a dark horse moving into patch 9.2 with having its main power source enhanced so much at this point. So I definitely wanted to include it on the list so that we were just kind of keeping an eye on it, all aware of it, because this thing could absolutely destroy in patch 9.2. Now let's take a look at the number 4 slot. We're going to be looking at the Elemental Shaman, maybe another one that you weren't really expecting here for patch 9.2. But the main thing with Elemental Shaman is the Fire Elemental. It seems like they're almost turning you into like this permanent water Ellie, except it's a fire Ellie that's going to be blasting down targets. They've looked at the quality of life of it as well. It's not going to be running out of mana. I saw that in the changes. Didn't think that was worthwhile including here, but you're basically going to be getting an insanely high amount of uptime on your fire elemental. You're going to be benefiting a lot from being able to wear the double legendaries, which means you can get that big Stormkeeper one shot, as well as focus on more sustained damage. And by having this fire elemental up at all times, you are really going to be threatening. And again, that's still following the trends that we have seen throughout the expansion that have allowed other specializations to get in dominant and really fun positions in PvP. Elemental Shaman is actually still following along a lot of those similar tracks, which is why I think you really want to keep your eyes on it. Seems like Shaman DPS specs are getting some pretty big wins here for patch 9.2. They'd maybe kind of fallen underneath a veil and maybe been forgotten for a while. They've been decent, but not really stellar. These changes could put them back into the cosmos and become very amazing specializations. You do want to keep your eye on them. Now moving into the number 3 position, we are going to be looking at the Arms Warrior, and it really wouldn't be a Shadowlands list if you didn't include the Arms Warrior somewhere on it, because the Arms Warrior has been so dominant. I guess the big surprise is that it's only number 3, and I didn't put it in on the number 1. One of the big things I think for Arms Warrior moving into patch 9.2 is going to be specifically the Kyrian Covenant. You're going to now have access to the Spear Bastion legendary, providing you that huge boost of crit damage during your spear, as well as access to a secondary legendary. And as we maybe don't all know, Arms Warriors have a bunch of legendaries that are all amazing and fantastic and phenomenal. So just mixing those together with the already amazing baseline Kyrian legendary is going to give you a huge amount of damage. Your set bonuses are aimed perfectly at what you aim to do to deal damage, with extended durations of Colossus Smash, more damage during the Colossus Smash window. So Arms Warrior, you're getting even more wins. Seems like you just can't lose in the Shadowlands. I've kind of said it in every video. If you haven't made a warrior at this point, you probably really should, because you're missing out on a really good experience in the Shadowlands. But it is only coming in at number 3. We still have 2 more specializations to go. There have been already quite a few curveballs that I put on the list, even to myself, having gone through this list now to you live. But let's take a look at it. Coming in at number 2 is going to be the HAVOC Demon Hunter. And this is a spec that's already been kind of tearing up the ladder currently, but is going to tear it up even further in patch 9.2 with your set bonuses providing you more sustained damage. Focus on buffing your Blade Dance and your Chaos Strike damage by 20%, applying to Death Sweep and Annihilation and Metamorphosis, as well as Metamorphosis getting a longer duration. And by spending more Fury, you're going to reduce its cooldown. So getting access to that big meta window more frequently, getting more sustained damage just baseline. And by now getting this Necrolord Demon Hunter legendary baseline, which is the Fodder to Flames explosion, will inflict Fiery Brand to nearby enemies. It's going to provide you some self-defense. If you didn't know what the Fiery Brand was, you can almost think of it as a shield wall effect. You're going to put this onto enemy targets when you explode your demon, and they're going to be doing significantly less damage to you. So you can think of this expiring demon as a big heal, as well as a defensive cooldown wall that you didn't have before. So you could just become this unstoppable force, unbreakable object in patch 9.2. HAVOC Demon Hunter is already insane and is likely to continue on that trend, seeing that it's following the same types of tracks that we have seen for other specializations to get into top positions. Now, the number 1, the numero uno, if it wasn't HAVOC Demon Hunter after that description, what on earth could it possibly be? Number 1 is going to be the Demonology Warlock. And the main focus of the Demonology Warlock moving into 9.2 is that your already threatening Decimating Bolt is going to just be bolstered up even further. You are going to have an even larger demonic army to empower with your demonic tyrant. You are going to benefit significantly from the double legendaries, and you are getting a lot of sustained damage buffs overall. By now, your Call Dreadstalker summoning in extra Dreadstalkers, your Hand of Gul'dan summoning in extra imps. Your sustained damage is going up. Your burst damage was already maybe the highest in the game now with these Demon Bolts from Decimating Bolts, which are getting even higher, especially with the Succubus build. And Succubus is getting, it's getting reskin as well as buffs to it specifically. So Demonology Warlocks running a Succubus are going to be an overall terror moving into 9.2. Might be the biggest sleeper in terms of specs moving forward for the patch that I've seen so far, with not a lot of people really talking about it. But I think that it is absolutely going to be insane. So insane that I really need to start working on my Warlock. I haven't even got a Warlock to 60 yet in Shadowlands, but now having looked how it currently is and now moving forward and what it's also going to be getting and obtaining in 9.2, I think it's time. I think it is now time to invest in the Legion here for patch 9.2. But that is it for my list, my top 7 specs currently for patch 9.2. And like I said, if you want to stay up to date with all those patch changes, if any more changes come through, which they could, still seems like the patch seems like it's a little bit of a ways away here, or if you want to see anything that's future in terms of news, updates, or guides to enhance your experience with World of Warcraft, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and I do greatly appreciate it. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.